And I was on a walk today with a friend, and we were chatting about Jackson Goldstone's setup as far as handlebar goes. So for the people who haven't analyzed how Jackson rides a bike, obviously he goes very fast. He's got like a lot of atypical stuff, but his bars are rolled forward quite a lot. And that's typically not the right way to do it. Most people shouldn't run their bars this far, but clearly it works well for him.
Yeah.
And so we're speculating on what would be the reason why he will run his bar forward, because that will change his reach by up to like 5-10 millimeters, depending how far forward you run them. Like he runs them like...
Yeah, but then they're also quite high, so that kind of detracts from the reach, but then they're also pretty wide for him too. So all of those things maybe still add up to an increase in reach, which could be a factor that he's looking for. But I always wondered, like he grew up sort of in the limelight of these like dirt jump movies or little videos like as a kid from a very young age. And although he didn't really ride a BMX bike, I see like a lot of that forward bar roll come into play for like street BMXers.
Yeah.
And also moto trials.
Trials, but I remember he actually bought my old trials moto.
Yeah.
And I remember, obviously, you have to run the bar like forward on trials bike to have the weight forward, because you're mostly going up.
Mostly on one wheel, sitting forwards anyways, yeah.
But I don't remember him going extreme. I actually rode moto with him a couple of days ago, and I vaguely look at his bars, but they seem like his moto bars were set up the normal way, which is basically parallel to the head tube.
Well, I bought his Enduro moto, and I didn't change anything for the first while, and he had very high-rise bars for what people would consider Enduro trails around here. Like, it's not the norm.
Yeah.
And they were more rolled back than what I can see on a mountain bike.
Yeah.
So, yeah, horses for courses. It's all, different bikes and where you're riding them and how you're riding them and the incline of the trail, generally what you're trying to do, right?
What I try to explain to people when setting up a bike, obviously there is, some stuff that scientifically makes a lot of sense, but at the end of the day, you want a setup that's going to make you feel comfortable and confident. Because if you feel comfortable, if you feel confident, then you're going to be able to ride relax and to go fast. So I'm sure he's done plenty of testing.
Yeah. That's kind of what I alluded to when I was talking about a racer getting set up quickly. It's like maybe not necessarily the ideal setup, or if a suspension tuner set up their bike, but they find a sweet spot and they just know and can trust the bike. And that's what's most confidence inspiring for them. Yeah. So what Jackson's looking for in particular, I'm not quite sure, but it kind of depends how you ride the bike too. Like he's almost a little bit behind the bike, I would say. So having that higher, wider bar with sort of that roll forwards kind of gives you like a quick engagement or like initiation. But if somebody was maybe a more forward weight biased rider like myself, like I tend to ride bigger bikes than maybe my height would depend or like dictate the size for. And I ride more in the middle or forward on the bike. And if I was to ride a bar that was rolled that far forward, I would be all over the place. It would make the bike so twitchy because my weight would go into the handlebars so quickly.
Yeah, it's funny, like people having a position on the bike that's, pretty center, pretty forward or backward. I feel like when I look at someone else riding, I can describe their riding, but me, I have no idea if I ride forward, backwards, or middle. I feel like I ride pretty centered, but then obviously if you ride something really steep, then you move backward, but so do everybody. I feel like the neutral position. So what would you say like Loic Bruni's riding position is?
I would say he's pretty centered. Yeah. But then he's also on...
But it's quite on the back as well.
Yeah, but he's also been on smaller bikes in the past, and now he's moved to a larger bike, it looks like, and now it seems like he's more centered. Before, for sure, he was a little bit over the back. And there's so many other factors that come into play there, like just how soft and progressive his bike was. Even though he's lower over the bike, he was kind of riding low to the ground, whereas Jackson's bike is quite stiff and he's up high, like he's standing up tall, sort of in the, I always say like the poise or like the stance of the bike, like he's
Yeah.
Almost like Danny Hart would do, like tall rider, given how big the bike is.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to see like there's so many style, and clearly, I feel like Jackson and Loic bikes are almost like visually they almost look the two extreme. One looks like pretty stiff, pretty playful. The other one looks like really glued to the ground. Like Loic's fork, it seems like it's so much on the travel. Like it feels like it's sagging a lot.
Yeah.
And it makes it look like it puts a lot of weight. I mean, obviously he dives, so it puts a lot of weight on his hand and his shoulder. Like visually, like almost too much. Like I just like if it was me riding, I would struggle to imagine that I would not want to run the front of the bike stiffer and higher to compensate that.
Well, that's just it. Like everybody's different. I mean, even his teammate Finn rides even lower. Like he must hit his visor off his bars all the time because he's like tucked in like a ski racer. But
I wonder if Finn didn't learn that from, riding with Loic, from being on the team. And, at some point, like, did Finn got told, hey, this is what works really well for Loic, you should ride this?
I think there's definitely an influence there. I think it was a bit of a natural progression too, because he also went through this kind of crazy growth spurt from being a Grom and kind of learning all these things and getting into Whistler whip off at an early age, and then building those skills, and then going to a World Cup and having a team, like you said, tell him how to set up the bike, and him kind of working back and forth with that. So there's probably a bit of a progression there.
But to go back to Jackson, I'll ask him. I want actually to chat with him about his bars, like not the ball, but like the length of the bar.
Yeah.
Because that's actually we can chat about that with you. So when you buy a handlebar, typically they come at 800 millimeters. You should cut them down based on mostly the size of your shoulder, what feels comfortable, but it's really hard to know until you've done it a few times, until you tried. And so obviously once you cut the bar too short, well, you have to buy a new set. There's no going back. So it's like pretty crazy. I guess it's pretty scary for people to like find out what works. But I was chatting with Jackson, and him being, pretty small and skinny, I was expecting him to be on 740.
Yeah.
750 maybe. For example, Jesse Melamed is on 720.
Whoa.
On an enduro bike.
Okay. It's still pretty narrow.
Which is still like very narrow. Myself, I'm at 738 on every bike I own pretty much. But Jackson was actually at 780.
Yeah.
Which I did not expect that.
Well, I mean, you want a lot of leverage, especially when you get that high. You need more leverage to tip the bike from side to side. So a narrow bar wouldn't really give you that. And then also the width adds some stability too, right? Like downhill versus enduro, overall average speeds are much higher. So he's probably looking for a bit of stability there. And maybe be curious to find out like what he rides on a short travel bike or something.
Yeah.
Could be smaller.
Yeah, definitely. And technically you have to avoid much less trees when you go on a downhill World Cup track versus an enduro track. Like the trails are not nearly as tight.
Yeah.
Moving the bike left and right is probably not as important. Or I guess you probably won't make as much of a difference on the clock than, carrying your speed through like long corners and rock gardens. But now if we forget the handlebars for a little bit, I wanted with you to chat about geometry.